Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Mode. This being a show, I introduce you to a series that you may or may not be familiar with. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Starz original series, American Gods. Like always, this isn't a review, it's just me talking about a series that I really liked and I recommend you check out for yourself. American Gods is a fantasy drama about a man named Shadow Moon who was recently released from prison, hoping to return to his old life, which includes his wife, Laura. Sadly for Shadow, Laura died while he was in prison, which that's a whole thing within itself. Having nothing else to hold on to, a mysterious man known simply as Mr. Wednesday offers Shadow a job, kind of a job as his driver slash bodyguard. Unbeknownst to Shadow, he makes quite the deal with the devil, or rather in this case, a god. Shadow is unaware that he's being thrown into the lion's pit as Mr. Wednesday, once again a god, is gathering up other allies, other gods, as he's waging this war between the old gods versus the new gods. Why is Mr. Wednesday so interested in Shadow? What role will Shadow play in this war? Only time will tell. As I said earlier, Shadow went into this situation not knowing Mr. Wednesday's identity, or rather his true identity. It's actually quite a while before Shadow does find out. I won't go into spoilers, but this is by design. Mr. Wednesday needs Shadow to come to this truth on his own. Frankly speaking, Mr. Wednesday is quite the manipulator. He even says at the beginning of the series that he always gets what he wants. I should also take this time to go back and kind of explain what I was referring to earlier when I was saying the old gods and the new gods. The old gods, as the name implies, are the older gods, the ancients, kind of the OG gods who've been around since like forever, who kind of represent how things used to be. And then you have the new gods, who are basically the new kids on the block, the next generation, gods representing modern times, the changing of the times. It's a literal old school versus new school situation, but obviously on a more celestial level. One of the really dope things about this series is the mythology that they pull from. They pull from a lot of different mythologies like Norse and Egyptian, just to name a few, but it isn't just the gods they pull from mythology, they also pull mythical creatures as well. For example, you have a character like Mad, who's a leprechaun. Another cool thing about this series is how the story is structured. There's the main overarching plot, which includes all the stuff with Mr. Wednesday and Shadow, and then there's also the whole, well, spoilers, situation with Laura coming back from the dead and the whole shenanigans road trip that is her and Mad. But at the same time, there are many side stories happening, or rather being told simultaneously. These other stories could simply be interesting one-offs, but in actuality, they're actually introductions to new characters and storylines that eventually fold into the overarching plot. It's also really interesting how history is used to tell the story as well, both on a human level as well as a god level. This series holds no punches. It can be quite bloody and messy, but it tells a very deep and compelling story. American Gods is based on a novel of the same name. Season 3 of American Gods premieres on January 10th. Really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.